So hello everyone. My name is Amalia and today is a special episode. Why is it special? Because my student is from Yerevan. And today I managed to arrange a meeting with her and we will be talking about our work together. So this episode is going to be super interesting. You'll find out what she did, what she changed, what she implemented, what maybe didn't work out, and what results were achieved. About her emotions and results, so stay with us until the end. The episode will be very interesting. I'm very happy. Thank you so much for agreeing and coming. Why am I, in fact, so happy that today I'll be telling you and talking live, you could say, with Ami? Because she's someone who did absolutely everything I said. And I think that's exactly the key to her success and why she achieved what she did. Of course, she'll share her story herself today, but I want to give a recommendation right at the start. When you don't like your mentor, as people often tell me, that they studied with someone and didn't like it, most often in reality, the problem isn't even with the mentor, but with how their words are received and how much the person actually takes action to change something. Because I hear it very often. I've already tried this a long time ago. It doesn't work for me. I hear this all the time. So today, Ami will tell you what she tried, what didn't work, and what did. Be honest. It's going to be very interesting all the way to the end. Well then, thank you so much. Today, we're really going to tell the whole truth. Share. I ask you to be open as possible, particularly about what didn't work. No other way.
I can't do it way.
If there are even some moments that really didn't go well or didn't work out, we'll talk about those too, if there were any, because that's genuinely interesting. Nothing in business can go perfectly smoothly. There will always be moments that need to be analyzed and changed. First, tell us about yourself, who you are, what kind of studio you have, and then I'll start asking you questions.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here. Honestly, I'm happy that I met Amalia at all and that I took this course, really. The point is, this has been very valuable for me. I'm Ani, I have a cosmetology studio and I've been working for over 7 years now. You know, everything was basically going well, but as I kept going, I reached a certain point where I just didn't know where to move next, what direction to take. I always had this word in my head, scale, scale, scale. And then I have a dream, I meet Amalia, then, well, I subscribe and there she writes about scaling up. I said, that's it, this is a sign from above.
A little note about soul. Why so? Because together with my friend, look, this is also a very important point. How did we even meet? We live in the same country, in the same city, but we met through a women's community. That's why I always say you need to communicate, go out, meet new people. As one of my teachers said, don't have lunch alone. Go out, socialize. Sol is a women's community that we created, and women come there. Successful women who have their own businesses. They're busy, they're doing something, developing themselves, and that's where they met me, and that's where they found out that I do mentoring. I want to point out right away, this is really a case where the business wasn't at rock bottom, it wasn't like everything was bad there. Moreover, it was quite profitable, and there were good employees. But even in a business like that, there's still a lot you can change, a lot you can achieve. So now they're going to talk about their starting point, their point A. What was going on with you back then? So everything was good?
Everything was good, you know, there was this kind of stability that was starting to get on my nerves. Of course, I wanted growth and more discipline, and that's what we were lacking. I'm generally a gentle person and I don't really know how to get angry at employees, and I wasn't sure how to implement things properly so that they still like you. Them too, because I only have 5 people so far, not 15 or 30 like Amalia. Still being able to get there is wonderful. I mean, I know I want more employees and we already have enough clients, but I don't know how to organize it all. Specifically, I want to keep my gentle approach with them, but also have discipline.
With results.
Yes, look.
How important that is. And when I say she had good revenue, that's really true. And by the way, I want to tell you, when I had 5 employees, I was operating at a loss. So just imagine how well things were going for her. But you know, most people come to mentoring when they have problems. When everything is going badly, when they just have no idea what to do anymore. And people don't even think about learning when they're actually making money. But they were really growing. She was constantly getting new equipment, always updating everything. Her clinic is an example for me. Because there are always different machines for different people, so it's not just one device for everyone, no monotony and so on. And then they come to me, I look at her results, and I get so inspired because working with such projects is also really interesting. It's great when you help someone solve a bunch of problems, but it's even cooler when the business is already making money and you can help scale it further. And today we're going to tell you how everything Anna implemented helped her revenue, because in reality, the most important thing is the results. Anna, tell us about your emotions. When you were looking for a mentor, were you feeling down? Were you upset? Or did you just think, well, if I find one, great. If not, then not?
Well, yes, up to a certain point. Of course, I had studied before, I had knowledge, and actually I learned from international speakers too, but I realized that the world is changing, everything is changing, and all of that no longer works. You need something new. You might have studied something for 7 years, but now it's all different. So basically, I wasn't really searching that hard. I looked online, I found some courses and took them, but as I said, it's not the same as working with a real person. Personal mentorship is something completely different. I personally recommend live one-on-one mentorship to everyone. First of all, it gives you analytics for your own business, and the mentor has time for you. Who knows, maybe it's just for me, but honestly, it's really great. She has so much energy, so many ideas. Then
Tell important.
Many mentors choosing.
It's all about the incredible energy you truly feel from them. You might not even particularly like someone who's so incredibly energetic. There are tons and tons of people exactly like that.
I truly don't think there's anyone you simply can't connect with at all. She genuinely gives 1,000,000,000% of her effort and dedication, and she really shares all the valuable tricks, all the essential information you truly need to effectively implement. As for me, of course, I was like a thirsty sponge, eagerly absorbing and immediately applying absolutely everything right away. There wasn't a single thing that didn't work for me. Everything just perfectly worked. I even got genuine goosebumps from the sheer excitement and effectiveness.
I got goosebumps, you know? And the reason I asked is because in my business too, we test everything. Whatever I hear, we test the same things. Of course, we try all sorts of different things. And naturally, some things might not work for me either. Yesterday, someone asked me, "You're in Armenia, and what works for you might not work in our country." Friends, this person is in a completely different niche. She's in cosmetology, which I didn't have before. We only just started implementing it, and even then, in a very minimal way, like as an esthetician, cosmetologist, and so on. But you see, it still works, because we don't use standard methods. We don't just do things the usual way, like, let's do it this way. I actually have mini manicure and pedicure specialization.
But Amalia was telling me specifically how things should be done in my field. Of course, you can't just have Amalia say everything for you, obviously.
You have to
use your own imagination too, because after all, it's your business, your energy. You need to take all of Amalia's knowledge and implement it into your business with your own energy so that it works. Otherwise, just copying everything won't work.
Yes, you need to steal like an artist too, just like we do. I also, when I take something from other people, that's completely normal, by the way. I take it, but I present it in my own way. So that's absolutely fine. And you shouldn't worry that someone has already done it or that you're copying. It's all good. Now, I'd like to ask, when you learned from others and implemented things, did it ever not help? Or did it just not give you the result you wanted? When did you decide that you were implementing
that kind of result? In the first place, I have to say, I didn't have discipline, and that's actually very important. In my personal life, I have it. But at work, I couldn't bring myself to find people. I would think, oh my God, she's just a girl, how can I find her? But now they know that Amalia has appeared in our lives.
By the way, people didn't like me at first, but then they started to like me. Why did they start to like me, huh?
At first, of course, any change means stepping out of your comfort zone, and naturally people feel uncomfortable. But once their checks started to go up, they began to like Amalia.
Money, yes, money. You see, when people start to earn more, of course, there's still a lot.
More clients, more respect. They realized that this really works great. Everyone started treating me differently, even giving gifts, chocolates, you know.
Look, attention, this is for everyone who's afraid to change something in their business, because Amalia went through this 100% too. Somewhere deep inside, I was once sick. Of course I was sick. How am I supposed to find people? Yes, and how does it actually happen? If she had just come in and said, all right, from today I'm going to find you, most likely there would have been tension in the team, stress, they probably would have gotten sick too, and maybe even... It's very important, and I always emphasize this to everyone, both in the group and even more so in mentoring, because you interact more closely with a person, that everything needs to be done gradually. And if the people you work with are truly your people, the ones you hired correctly, meaning they share the same ideology and understand that when the company moves forward, everyone benefits. And when the company goes down, everyone suffers because the client belongs to everyone, not just someone individually. Then things work. But when you work with the wrong people, that's why you don't see any changes. Just yesterday, I wrote down this phrase for myself. If even one person in your company contradicts your ideology, your company will not grow. That's why hiring is so important. The main thing everyone keeps telling me is, I need more workload, I need more workload. But what are you going to do with that workload if your team is bad, ineffective, unproductive, and unwilling? Because your team is great. They could have chosen not to try, not to improve, not to listen to recommendations. But since your team is united, they listened to you. And as a result, they achieved great results. Now tell us, were there any obstacles along the way? I mean, aside from fear, for example, when you decided to implement it, what happened when you said you did it? Did you explain this to them at a meeting, or how did it actually happen at the meeting?
At the meeting too, I just showed up as I am. I laid it all out like, no, girls, that's it. I'm going to cry if we don't start changing something, or I'll just quit everything. Seriously. I said, I'm comfortable, but I want to scale up. I want us to grow. We're good at what we do, so why not spread it further? And they sat down, really thought about it. Honestly, they're like family to me, and decided, well, for you, we'll definitely try and do it. How?
That's so great. And people sometimes say, well, I always advocate that a leader shouldn't necessarily be nice, but that doesn't mean a leader should be harsh either. It just means you need to distinguish between kindness and, roughly speaking, being demanding.
You know what else? I don't show it if they've messed up. I say, okay, well, let the girl not know so that she feels comfortable. And I do like comfort, and I also provide comfort, but I think they don't even know they've made a mistake.
They don't know
that they were harming me, themselves, and the business, and I started to speak up, and when you talk about it, they see, well, yes, that's true, and then it's possible to.
Quality control. So what do they mean by that? When we feel sorry for employees, when we worry about them because they really are our people, we love them, but we're not just harming ourselves and them. Because that client, for example, who was dissatisfied won't come back. They won't return to your specialist. They won't bring money to the business. So we come to the conclusion that, on the contrary, we need to control quality. And we shouldn't work with employees who avoid this. Because there's also this. As soon as you introduce discipline into the business, people start leaving because they don't like being shown where they were wrong or that they should be fined here. So look, everything starts with hiring. Everything starts with the team. You need to start with a good team. You need to hire the right people. Let's say, for example, that we implemented at the very beginning a CRM system. What did the CRM system give you?
Overall, it made things easier.
What did it give you? Well, at first,
of course, it was uncomfortable. I had no idea how it would work, but then it became very easy. I can see everything, who is assigned to whom, who works how much revenue there is, which specialist brings in how much revenue for me. Everything was...
By the way, we didn't use paper. She had Excel. It was
really...
It's nothing. People tell me, I have my own spreadsheet. I say, friends, if you can't see your client retention, if you can't see which client came to whom, this fear people have when they change their location. A relative recently asked me, you changed your location? Didn't that affect anything? I said, it didn't affect anything at all, because when everything is in a CRM system, you have mailings, you have bots. Friends, we live in the 21st century. You just send out a mailing through a bot and that's it. You have your database. But when everything is on paper, of course it's scary. Everything is written down somewhere else. You have to find it all. Who's satisfied? Who's not? You can't even assign tasks to the administrator this way. People often complain that administrators don't do their job well, but in reality, the tasks just aren't set. You had an administrator, but you didn't have a second one. Anna and I came to the conclusion that
the administrator wasn't performing the necessary functions at all, and my other employees weren't doing them either. Basically, the staff weren't fulfilling their duties. We only had a system with fines, but I wasn't enforcing it. Now we're controlling everything. Well, tell me
how things are different.
Different, of course. Right away they say, no, I won't forget, I won't be late, I won't do anything wrong, there's no need to record anything. But they're definitely more positive now. They understand when you show them how things are.
Yes, because I had the same thing at the beginning. I even had an employee quit with a bang, slamming the door when I was just starting out. And you know, the most important thing is that I wasn't upset at all because she wasn't the right person for me. But the point is, after that, the people who worked with me, they would get these fines for being 15 minutes late. So now they know, they already understand that this is about discipline. And my friends, where there is no discipline, there will never be any money.
By the way, I also had an employee whom I really liked and still do, but we just couldn't work together because she didn't understand. I felt sorry for her. She wasn't passionate. She was always like this and that, the clients. And then when I started to explain things, she just didn't get why it was that way. Of course. And in the end, I became the bad one. Of course. Well, because you see, she thought about terminating the contract. She thought that I was somehow in the wrong. And then we talked. And she realized that I actually didn't mean any harm, that I wasn't a bad person, but I just couldn't keep working with her. I just can't work with people like that anymore. Before I might have taken her back, but at that moment I decided that was it. I didn't need it anymore.
Look, this is a very important point, my friends. When we feel sorry, of course we feel sorry for people, but you also start saying goodbye to people you don't need. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just that if your interests don't align, people can't work together. She won't grow either. She'll also be more comfortable in
another place, of course. Of course. Energy in the field, of course.
Let's talk, look, CRM systems, job descriptions, penalties, administrators and their functions. What else was there? I mean, we've done a lot in marketing.
We changed quite a lot, and my targeted marketing efforts started bringing in a significant amount of new clients. What was
the point? What was the problem? Why? The layout. And
the color of purple.
The color purple, look, when I say it, now he'll tell me about it. When I say this, it sounds funny now, but when I tell my students, my friends, please, my students, please, don't focus on the beauty and aesthetics of your layout. The layout just needs to sell. They still try to make it beautiful anyway. I say, it won't work, you understand? Nobody needs it. And Anna has a purple logo. And she sends it to me, and I, just like she does with her employees, try not to hurt her feelings. So it turns out, I say, Anna's purple, that's it, she goes with it a second time too. Anna, I say, please, let's make it red or yellow. And indeed, Anna herself saw that it was true. It was just the color that mattered. What else did you do? So the layout, what else?
The layout.
I think there was also an offer.
We also changed the offers completely, like how to write numbers and everything. So basically,
the rule is
how to meticulously write the compelling layout and the effective advertisement, and also how to skillfully present and successfully sell it in a very professional and appealing way. And as if you're not selling, but you actually are.
Yes, and Anna was with us too. She also came to us for service. We'll get to that in a moment. We held a client day, and Anna held a client day as well, you could say, at the same time. Anna came, and I was very pleased. She said, your employee is so gentle when she sold me the spa treatment. You see, this is very important. In other words, the person knew, but there was no discomfort, like someone was trying to push something on them or sell them something unnecessary. That's what selling really means. Very often people think, oh my God, how am I going to sell? The person doesn't need it. That's another very common objection. I always say, you have to offer it to everyone. But if they need it, they'll ask themselves, right? No, they won't ask, my friends, they won't ask. You started offering, didn't you?
Yes, I started offering. This month, I swear, I had more receipts than in December.
Oh, really?
I honestly couldn't keep up. We really couldn't keep up. And we had to make our client day last 2 days because we couldn't keep up. We stretched them out over 4 days. Well, there were reschedulings. And I noticed that we made the biggest amount specifically during those 4 days.
I want to tell you, we counted, but we won't mention the numbers. She made that amount in 4 client days because she had to. People wanted to participate in the client day. Since she doesn't have enough square meters yet, she's currently looking for a space. We'll get to that too. They stretched it out over 4 days. In those 4 days, they made 30% of their total revenue. Do you understand? Why do people hold client days? I just hear very often, why do this? You just don't know how to do it. Tell me, how much did you spend on this client day? Let's say in dollars, so that it's clear to everyone. Well, you can say it in drams. The person spent $30 on the client day. Well, this is what entrepreneurship is about. When you spend, like I once did, around $150 to $200, but the revenue doesn't come in because people don't come for the decorations. People come for what we come up with. They came up with a really great idea, although she didn't mention it, but their uniqueness is that they work using Tibetan technology.
Tibetan cosmetology plus traditional methods. We have a mix.
Exactly. And they're the only ones in Yerevan. By the way, this is about a unique selling proposition, which most people don't have. I also
Didn't have it, by the way. This is also an innovation.
Why? Look, the person had it, but she never talked about it. So I ask, what makes you unique? And like everyone else, she starts with, well, we care about our clients. Well, we're like this. I have such a great team. I say, that's all great, but that's not a unique selling proposition. I kept digging and finally found out that she says, everything we do is unique, and you have this kind of medicine. I said, that's it, let's implement it. And she really strengthened it. She says that she started getting consultations. I used to.
Give consultations. Then I stopped. I forgot about it.
Really? But here there were few.
I said, and of course I started implementing all of this, and the momentum started to build. It took off.
So look, even the CRM, implementing the CRM led to revenue growth.
Yes, from the very first lesson. Honestly, from the very first lesson, I already noticed the difference. Yes, a difference. November was really not that great for me. Not very good. Yeah, not very good. But December turned out really well for her. And let's do even better.
100%, 100%. By the way, make sure to follow me. We talk about students all the time. And they also mentioned it very often. Because honestly, every expert always has unique cases. They are my unique case. Because I can't force people to do things if they don't want to. If people don't implement things themselves, they won't achieve anything at all. And it's not about having a good or bad business. Now they'll start making up excuses. Like, oh, he just wasn't lucky. He's just like that. There's no such thing. That doesn't happen in life at all. The word lucky, if that were the case, they just wanted to scale up and the universe sort of brought me to her. I helped her achieve a good result. Now they're dreaming about getting a new space because they can't manage anymore. Do you see how far it's gone? They can't keep up. They don't have enough rooms. Even in January. This is actually really important because everyone sits around thinking January is a slow month. That's normal. No, it's not normal. January doesn't have to be a slow month. January, tell us, what did you do in January on client day? An offer. What else did you do? You started working with your client base.
Yes, we started working with our client base. It turns out it's actually very pleasant because you realize that you're doing a great job. And in fact, everyone remembers you very well and loves you. And they're actually not at all opposed to coming back. They just forgot. Someone just had a baby. Yeah, they forgot, or someone had a baby. And now is exactly the right time. And there are a lot of old clients.
They'll come back. You see? This is about working with your client base, which everyone hates. Everyone thinks it's something you just have to do, that it's somehow not very ethical. My friends, if you want to make money, you have to work with your client base, because at the very least, you should know what your client thinks about you. Okay, you didn't get them back. At least find out what the problem is. Why didn't they come back? So it turns out our administrators started handling rebooking more correctly, and things started moving for you.
After the mentorship, I learned to handle negativity normally. Before that, I used to suffer. I would cry, sob, even get sick over it. But now I understand that it's normal if out of 7,000 people, 1 or 2 don't like something. And even then, it's just something they didn't like.
Of course, that's possible. Look, I honestly believe, please everyone listen. If you want success and want to scale up, it's impossible not to have some negative feedback from people. Yesterday we received one, and in the next video, I will definitely talk about it. I'll dedicate that video to this review because I want to break it down. People help us so much this way. There has to be some negativity so that we pay attention to what we're doing wrong. I want to sum it up like this. Now let's try to recall everything. Of course, we won't be able to cover everything during our video, but just the implementation of a CRM system alone, raising the average performance of each employee. In other words, making sure each employee understands how to do it. Re-recordings, proper record keeping, working with the database, upselling. Yes, and pre-sales. And of course, we mentioned the regulations. Marketing. What is marketing? It's not just one tool, not even 2. Many people will say our targeted ads don't work. But we didn't just implement targeted ads. There were contests. There were posts, for example, where they talked very little about themselves. And now a business owner is required to develop their personal brand. It's a must. Tell us a bit more, we have just a little time left, about the fact that you're currently looking for a new space. So is it that you no longer fit in your current place, or do you just want to move? What's the reason that you, after those client
days in general? Well, I was already looking back in November before we met, but I wasn't that eager because basically we had enough space and we managed to keep up. But now, after January, I was sitting there again crying, saying, why can't we find a place? Because during those days, we just couldn't manage at all. Everyone wanted to come and we wanted to serve them too. There just isn't any space left.
So this is one of those cases where the space itself no longer allows us to achieve more results. Basically, we've almost reached our peak. Full capacity, all the specialists are busy.
You know how it used to be? I used to have days like that. I thought, well, it's okay, a day or two, maybe a week, no big deal. But now I feel like it's like this every day, every single day. I think today is like that, but no, we have still fully booked, yes.
So friends, honestly, January, February, it's all just a limitation in your mind, and that's normal. Of course it's normal, there is some seasonality, but your business has no right to be unprofitable, even in the off-season. So my friends, using Anya as an example, I think it's very clear that everyone needs to keep learning, even those who are already doing well. Because if we want to scale up, we obviously have to take new actions. And she didn't know what to do because honestly, well, she had already reached
the ceiling, a kind of knowledge limit, of course.
New people, new knowledge, new skills, and new actions, because I will never get tired of repeating this. If you keep doing the same things, you will never achieve new results. The most important thing I also work on, and this is really crucial, is the mindset of an entrepreneur. Because when an entrepreneur wants to give discounts, just wants to give things away, that's not an entrepreneur, that's not business. Maybe...
Is this another separate review? You're saying that about business, but my business is just now taking off, and honestly, it wouldn't have happened without you. I recommend this to everyone, and it's not just some advertisement, it's from the bottom of my heart, because Malia, first of all, as a person, as a mentor, she really gives her all, even more than 100%, right? And the way she brings her ideas, her energy, the way she teaches everything, this really works. Just go ahead and implement it seriously. Just implement it, please. And the personal and group mentoring is also amazing, but you see, in personal mentoring, she found my unique selling point. It's also about the energy, the communication. It's just awesome.
Honestly, I want to tell you, my friends, that it's very important to find your people. Learn from those speakers who truly resonate with you, because you should feel comfortable and understand what people are saying. And implement things, believe in yourself, because intention really works. When a person has intention and truly does everything to achieve their goals, then absolutely anyone can do it. I'm happy for them because for me, the most important thing was her revenue, her numbers. In fact, numbers don't lie. I tell everyone that your only real result is your numbers. Any other result? No. So when you say everything is fine, but your numbers aren't great, believe me, it means things aren't really going well in your business. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to your comments with the bell emoji. Feel free to ask questions. I'll bring them in too, and they'll also reply. Subscribe to my Instagram. There's also a lot of useful information there. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.